channel. So this is my blog. As of right now, I'm looking for some students, and then I'm gonna discuss to them, or I'm gonna let them know about the agrarian reform, the taxation, or the constitution before, or actually this is the time from post-war up until this time. So I'm gonna look for some students in here. So just wait for me, guys. Hi guys. Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Are you students, guys?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea about our Philippine history? No.
No.
It's fine. I'm just this is in regards to the agrarian reform, the taxation, and the constitution during the post-war era up until right now. Is that okay? Do you have free time? Thank you. Talk to three students in regards to the history of the Philippines, starting from the post-war up until the present. So right now, I'm still looking for at least another two. So let's find out. Let's walk around the village. So I'm just around the village, guys. So mapapansin nyo parang same lang yung locations ko, but there's a lot of students around here. So let's find out. Where can I find some students? There. I guess they are friends. Hi guys. Can I ask you something? Do you have any idea in regards to the Philippine history, like from the post-war, post-Cold War era up until the present, like in regards to the taxation, the agrarian reform, or the constitution? Not so much. Okay. I'm just gonna ask you to watch a video, guys. Here in my phone. This is in regards to the agrarian reform, the taxation, and then the past presidents from post-Cold War era up until the present. Is that okay? Do you have free time? Thank you so much. Interviewed 5 students, so we have one left, and I guess I'm seeing one right now. So just a minute. What's up, guys? Oh, there. Hi, Ate.
Hi.
Pwede magtanong?
Ano po yun?
Student ka po ba?
Yes po.
Tatanong ko lang, do you have any idea in regards to our Philippine history, like from post-Cold War up until right now?
Yes po.
Okay, kind of. May favor lang ako. May papanood ako sa yung video, and then mag-react ka lang or anything. Tatanungin kita after the video if what have you learned. Is that okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Go.
The damage done by the war to the Philippines was incalculable. Damaged infrastructures had to be rehabilitated and reconstructed. The American Army promptly created the Philippine Civil Affairs Unit, which provided speedy relief for all the people of Manila and the provinces. On March 7, 1945, President Osmeña signed an executive order, providing for the restoration of the executive departments of the government as they existed before the war. On June 9, Osmeña called a special session of Congress. Manuel Rojas declared that all men who were employed during the Japanese occupation were actually loyal to the Commonwealth government. On June 29, President Roosevelt stated that those who collaborated with the enemy should be removed from authority and influence over the political and economic life of the country.
The following are the people who served and tried to change our country for the better. Manuel Rojas, who served from 1946 to 1948, was the first president to taste the neo-colonialism of the Americans. Because businesses were closing, there were no more jobs available for people. Unemployment rates were rising, education also severely weakened. Also, policies done by Ross were highly influenced by US officials. Since the country was devastated by war, Ross centralized his promises around the rehabilitation of the Philippines. Rojas supported the acceptance of two important laws passed by the Congress of the US to the Philippines. These laws were the Philippine Rehabilitation Act and the Bell Trade Act. Another is the Treaty of General Relations, which recognized Philippines' independence as of July 4, 1946. We decided to give him a 1.0 based on the DLCU grading system because although he was able to obtain rehabilitation money to repair the country, the welfare and the nationalism of the country and the countrymen were jeopardized. Elpidio Quirino, who served from 1948 to 1953, was the first accidental president of the Philippines, for he became president when Rojas died in 1948. Poverty was present specifically in the mountain province. Wages of people cannot compensate with the expenses of the people and the prices of the products due to inflation. Housing was also a huge problem because of the war. Quirino promised that he will help in rebuilding the existing system in the country since it was after the war and everything was back to step one. He promised to solve the unemployment problems and increase the wages of the people. Quirino established the PACSA to alleviate the sufferings of poor families, ACCFA to help the farmers market their products, Labor Management Advisory Boards to advise him on matters concerning labor and rural banks of the Philippines, to facilitate utilities in rural areas. We decided to give him a grade of 2.0 because he implemented many programs and policies to recover the Philippines from its post-war condition. Ramon Magsaysay, who served from 1953 to 1957, came from a poor family, which is why he was a fresh face for presidency, and he also understood how the people felt. Some of the problems during his term were the land reform problems and the Hukbalahap rebellion. He promised peacefully resolve the Hukbalahap situation and open settlements for the public lands. He established NARRA, among other agrarian reforms, and implemented the Rizal Law in order to educate the people in terms of the history of the Philippines. We gave him a grade of 3.0 based on what he did against corruption. His presidency was referred to as the Philippines' golden years for its lack of corruption. Carlos P. Garcia served as Vice President of Ramon Magsaysay and became President when Magsaysay died in 1957. The main problem was the current economic situation that time. Another was that the imports outnumbered the exports, making the Philippines highly dependent on foreign products which require dollars to purchase. Some of Garcia's promises were the continuation of low-cost housing projects. His programs were the Filipino First policy, which favored Filipino businessmen over foreign investors, and the austerity program, which urged people to live a simple life. We gave him a 3.5 because he helped the Philippines rise from being a victim of war to a self-sustaining country that was considered one of the richest countries during his time. Diosdado Macapagal, who served from 1961 to 1965, was the 9th president of the Philippines. Some of the problems during his term were the lack of economic stability, high unemployment rate, and the peso devaluation, which made the foreigners control more local businesses easily because of the exchange rate. He promised to bridge the wide gap between the rich and the poor, to end corruption, and to establish an anti-terrorism movement. His programs include the Decontrol Policy, which gave incentive to export industries, and the Agricultural Land Reform Code of 1963, which removed shared tenancy and replaced with leasehold system. He deserves a grade of 1.0 because he didn't achieve any of his promises during his term. Ferdinand Marcos, who served from 1965 to 1986, was the longest-serving president. He ruled under martial law and dictatorship. The problems under his term were high rate of unemployment, the corrupt government officials, and destabilized economy. His promises were the reformation of international and domestic policies, renovation of roads, buildings, and other infrastructures, and the development of our economy. When he declared the martial law, he turned himself into a dictator, stating that it was important for the nation's survival. Another program of him was the Decentralization Act. We gave Marcos a 2.5. He was always ahead in his plans, however, because of the declaration of martial law and the atrocities that he committed, his reign was a dark time in Philippine history. Corazon Aquino was the first female president of the Philippines, or any Asian country. She served from 1986 to 1992. The problems during her term were displeased citizens and power shortages. Her promises were to create jobs and livelihood, bring about peace and order, and improve the lives of all the Filipino people. She restored the democracy and implemented the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Programs, or CARP, which provided land for the landless farmers. We only gave her a grade of 2.0 because she focused on ensuring democracy to the people and failed in the making the Philippines economically stable. Fidel Ramos was chief of staff of the AFP before he became president in 1992 and served until 1998. The economy wasn't booming because of foreign investors felt that it was too risky to invest because of coup attempts. Another problem was frequent brownouts. His promises were to supply equal measure of agriculture, nurse the economy and make it grow, and to continue the reforms by Aquino. One of his programs was the Philippines 2000, which envisioned the Philippines to be a tiger economy in Asia. Another was the Oil Deregulation Act, which prohibited the government interference to oil industries. He deserves a 3.5 because his term is considered one of the most orderly and productive presidencies in the Philippines. Also known as Arab, Joseph Estrada was the first president who had been a famous film actor. His term lasted from 1998 to 2001. One of the problems during his term was when the central bank increased rates by 1.75%. El Nino and poverty were also some of the problems during Estrada's term. He promised that his first priority was improvement of the economy. Jeepney Era program stands for Justice, Economy, Education, and Peace. He deserves a 1.0. Although he was charged of plunder, labeled as a Jutang Lord and a womanizer, he still made some acts which had a good effect on our country. Gloria Arroyo was the second female president and daughter of former President Diosdado Macapagal. She served from 2001 to 2010. The problems during her term were corruption, budget mismanagement, poverty, and unemployment. The only thing that was fulfilled from her 10-point agenda was the automation of election. She implemented EVAT during her term to counter the problems in the economy. However, due to the many corruptions that occurred during her time, the EVAT only served as deadweight to the Filipinos. She deserves a grade of 0.0 because of her many corruption cases and issues which just made our country worse than it ever is. Benigno Aquino III, also known as Pinoy or Noy Noy. He is the first president who is a bachelor. Corruption and poverty are also prevalent in Pinoy's term, same as the other former presidents. His promises include the fight against corruption and poverty and the strengthening the agricultural sector. Pinoy implemented the No Wangwang policy, which prohibits public officials from using those. He also initiated the K-12 education plan. He deserves a 1.5 because he brought just a small amount of change in our country.
Since the video is already done, I'm just gonna ask, what have you learned sa video?
Yung kay Manuel L. Quezon, yung program niya is about yung Bell Act. Tapos 1.0 yung naano sa kanya, bigay sa kanya.
Yeah, yung grenade sa kanya.
Nung sila man magsaysay naman, yung Hook Balahap
Yeah.
program. Ayun naman, tinatawag siyang Hook program.
Yeah.
Yan.
Yes.
1.5 siya. 1.5
The grade.
yung rate niya.
Yeah, so I guess you have something, some knowledge in regards to the presidents. Like, you know about Hook Balahap and then the Bell
Yes.
Act.
And thank you so much for watching the video, guys. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!
So, what do you think kung tungkol saan yung video?
For me, yung tungkol din sa napanood namin video, about siya sa mga president, ayun yung mga nagawa nila, tapos yung mga pinangako nila, tapos yung naging problema, mga assessment sa Pilipinas.
Did you learn something about the video?
Of course.
So you learned something, you sure?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you so much, guys. I gotta go. Bye! Tapos na yung video. What have you learned sa video na pinanood mo?
So yun, I've learned na each president has their own contribution sa taxation, sa land agrarian, and talagang lahat sila, meron naman silang talagang advantage and disadvantages bawat.
Okay, so thank you so much for your time. Hope to see you soon. Bye!